picket lines from back in early seasons of Series E. Now Slepon taking a lot of damage, and I mean,
The shots are starting to connect with what he does, and they're going down Sung, making the thing sang right there.
As he hopped back on with Nerf. Nerf looking like they want to close in another fight. Forsey with the shots, and goodbye to
So this doorway and those windows, and they should be able to fight it out. Meanwhile, Intel getting into another battle, clear way across the map. Intel breaking.
Mike and Ike are getting aggressive. They got the first knock. Actually, Z Davis once again with that charge rifle, but Bronzy.
No, Eccentric from above as well. So
you see what Eccentric's up to. They're making the flank on down below to P1. Put on the 22. Now it's a 2-on-2 situation. Maybe a 2-on-1. It is a 2-on-1.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome in for another night of Series Z Apex Legends action. It's Wednesday, it's open night, and we're here to have some fun with all of you. My name is Yeso, back for another night here of fun, and I'm joined with a very good friend of mine. It's T-Square. Tom, how we doing today, my friend?
I'm doing good. You know what, chat? I apologize for not having my camera, but I've been moving, and you know we did the best we could. We got set up. We're here. That's all that matters. I'm stoked to see some Apex. I'm stoked to see which open players are going to shine today.
I'm looking forward to it too, and I need everybody in chat to gas up and show some love for my friend Tom here. He's been grinding on the move and took a break from all of that fun to come and hang out with us here today and watch some wonderful Apex action. So show this man some love here. But yeah, let's jump right into the fun. Let's talk about what we've got on deck today. We can take a look here at the teams we'll be seeing compete. You, of course, will see our partnered squads. A lot of talk that we can have about Team Razor with their performances that they've had recently as well. Aegon looking to be on the rise here. So the partnered squads with a lot at stake. But when you shift over to the open teams, we've had quite a mix of different squads coming in. A lot of EMEA folks have come over and played. We had Godfire in the mix and open night a couple of times before. Of course, unfortunately, they elected to drop that roster. But when you look here today, Tripod's coming into the mix and a lot of other open squads. Is there anybody that stands out to you the most, Tom?
Yeah, you touched base on Tripods. It's going to be interesting. First, we got to start with the partnered teams on the left. And you were touching base on some of the teams that have been playing really well. Razor's been playing well. Mike and Ike is looking good. Aegon by AOC. Everyone's really having their moments in terms of partner teams, but those have been the three that have been a little bit more on the rise and more consistent, especially, obviously, MJ, who was our season MVP last season. But in terms of our open teams, you have Tripods coming in, which is going to be exciting to see how they stack up going up against our partnered squads. And then we have 2R1C, which is Owako, Hyarka, and Jarovic. And I'm looking forward to seeing these guys play because this is another team coming out from the EMEA region, and they're going to be playing overseas on our servers. So dropping the game against the Royals, and it looks like Aegon by AOC with replay, so you can see what they're kind of all about. Turns plays almost every single legend in the pool, so you got to watch out for him because he can switch it up at any given point in time. You're going to see a lot of Seer, a lot of Catalyst, a lot of Valkyrie. That's going to be a majority of what the compositions are going to be. Bangalore's still extremely strong. I'm not quite sure how much Wraith we're going to see, but this is what everyone's kind of playing right now, Yeso, because you can use the Seer ultimate in conjunction with the Catalyst ultimate. And we saw a lot of different plays from that last week.
Yeah, the Catalyst has definitely come to prominence here in Season 16, which is cool to see, right? Didn't make a ton of waves directly on release, but it seems like this new patch and with the shifts in the meta and, of course, the big changes to the classifications for the different legends has opened the door here for Catalyst in a big way. And I'm a big fan of it. I know some players might not be the biggest fan, right, having to play around these walls, and especially when you get 2 or 3 laid down in a single fight, it can certainly create some chaos, but it's made for some very interesting action. And I think, Tom, what we've seen in Season 16 is really a continuation of what we saw in the season prior. And it was something that you and I loved talking about, and it was the fact that the meta was relatively open, right? So many different legends were viable. You're certainly still going to have those premier picks that you already touched on like the Seer and the Catalyst, but it truly continues to feel like any team can build a composition that fits their play style, the way they want to play, accentuates their strengths and tries to mitigate their weaknesses. And I think it makes it very fun to come into then every day and look at what composition is this team running. And you feel like you get a good understanding of what those players bring to the table by the way they build those team comps.
These are some great replays. I mean, great job from production, really gathering what happened last week so we can see exactly what was being played. And if you haven't played Apex in a while, I feel like Catalyst is that legend that you haven't played in a couple seasons, and then you hop into Apex and you're like, what the heck is going on now? Because there's like this giant wall, you walk through, you have no idea what it does. You step on her Q, you have no idea what it does, and it just eats you alive. So it has to be, you know, the doors get shut and you can't open them and you have to kick them 4 times. Out of anything, it's like, you know, all these legends are getting so much value compared to, you know, some of these other legends that we've seen. I don't know if every legend's, you know, built differently or what's going on here, but look at Valkyrie's kit. Like, look at all these kits. I don't know. I think that it takes time for people to get used to what the legends are going to be, and it takes a while to, you know, master Newcastle, master Catalyst. And a lot of times people were saying like, okay, we can, you know, it's a little bit of a glitch that you could still use the Seer wall and like counter Catalyst, but no one ever realized, wait, why don't we both use them together? And then nobody's going to be able to know what's happening because we throw down a wall and then we could see right by it. And then you have MJ on the other side who refuses to give up Horizon. So I think that Horizon's still pretty strong. Obviously, the nerfs when you go into the air and you can't shoot is a big deal, especially for someone like MJ who's practiced that so much. But can't forget that Horizon was meta for quite some time for a reason. And that one minor change, is that enough to actually get rid of Horizon totally? I don't think so, especially when you're as nasty as MJ with it.
Yeah, and I think it really just goes back to the fact that part of the reason that MJ really started to light things up last season was the fact that the Horizon and what her kit brings to the table so well enables what MJ is good at, playing aggressive, playing confident, W keying into these fights. Horizon has all of the tools to set MJ up for success. You can hit the gravity lift to get up to high ground to get good sight lines on players. You can play forward, play aggressively. You can use that ultimate to lock players down and give yourselves these openings into fights. And MJ just continues to play that style. And it seems like in his mind, Horizon continues to be the best fit for the way that he wants to play the game. And he definitely showcased that last week because, you know, Mike and I down the stretch last Wednesday was absolutely on fire. They had a really, really good win in one of their games on Wednesday night. Again, it was continuing to just play that aggressive, forward MJ style, and I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing more of that here today. I want to get a quick just question for you, Tom, because of course Pro League kicks off again this weekend. We're jumping into Split 2. Do you have anything you're most looking forward to on a Pro League side? You know, maybe when you're looking at some of the teams here, of course, we have to mention Team Intel qualified for Pro League. Is there anything maybe you're hoping to learn here today as we're only a few days out from professional competition starting up again for Apex?
I really just think it's the same, you know, carry on from the conversation that we're having is what's the meta going to be? Because the legends that you pick dictate how you're going to play. You know, it's their kit. You can't just go and play Watson and be an entry fragger. I mean, you can. Is it going to work out as good as MJ being an entry fragger on Horizon? Definitely not, because there's so many different things that certain legends are going to be able to bring to the table. So realistically to me, I mean, I want to know what everyone's going to play, how they're going to play it, and what's going to be the development as the season kind of goes on, because there's consistent changes that happened, and some of the biggest changes that we've seen in Apex ended up happening from this season. I think it was a great job and a great idea from Respawn not to do another legend and to actually work on the game itself.
Yeah, I agree with you there, and we've got a ton more, honestly, that we're going to talk about tonight, especially because we have 6 games ahead of us. But right now, dealing with a couple of issues in the lobby, we are going to get that sorted out on the back end. In the meanwhile, Tom and I are going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we've got plenty more Series E action when we return. Welcome back, everybody. Appreciate your patience there as we dealt with a couple of lobby issues there on the back end, but shout outs to our TOs for getting everything taken care of. And we are on to World's Edge here for our first game of the day on board here with Free Meds up at Survey Camp as we get things rolling. And to nobody's surprise, I would say here on an open night, we're already drawing blood across the map. 3 players down as we check in here with Intel at Countdown.
Oh, excuse me, it was muted there for a second. This is the most third-party area, too, because you can get Landslide coming over, you have Skyhook coming over, Lava Fisher as well. So if you're Intel, you got to take this fight fairly quickly, and it looks like they were able to do so, getting some good loot off of the rip. Now, interesting team composition. That's the conversation that we were having before all this started. You have no rotation legends, but you're playing Caustic. I find that extremely interesting.
Yep, you get the Caustic so you can, lock down those buildings. And, of course, with the new changes, Caustic does get that circle scan. So you get not only the circle scans, but with the Seer, you can scan players at those separate consoles. And then you've, of course, got the assault bins, courtesy of your Bangalore. So we'll keep an eye on things there for Team Intel. Meanwhile, Tyson, much further south, they're down at launch site. And it looks like this circle is pulling pretty hard up north. I actually didn't check when we were on board with Intel, but Tyson going to have a ways to go. But they've already got 1 point in their pockets here from 1 kill, and now Kodagami pushing forward with this wingman, trying to group up, playing as the Catalyst. The door going to get locked down by that enemy Catalyst, and here comes the rest of the team as Stankini wants to get in with this Spitfire. Will land a few shots, but the problem is Kodagami is down. It's now the 2v3 here for Tyson.
Yeah, Stunny comes through with the controller car, putting some serious work onto Kodagami. Unfortunately, nobody was able to cover Kodagami's backhand side, and I think that's where he ended up getting ripped from, but they are using the knockdown shield. Smart play to go and bait that res, so the rest of the players are going to make their way around the right side. But look at that Catalyst wall, or the Catalyst Q. It's in such a great spot that you can't really charge. Stankini with the shots, laying down some nasty Spitfire. It's going to be Stankini versus Stunny for the final kill here. I believe there was knocks coming in on both sides, and that's what you want to do. Bait the res, get information from Cruisin to see if they're actually pushing, and he does get the res off. Stunny had to go and heal throughout all of that, so this is a huge 2v1 now for Tyson.
Yeah, and the great thing here is Stankini super, super healthy. Didn't take almost any damage in that initial engage. And now this last player is going to step forward. It's Stunny with almost no health. He is going to hit for Flesh there through this Catalyst wall. And is just trying to play around this little bit of vision control that he has. Is going to go for the cell here to buy some time. Looking to flank on the other side. That Q is going to get activated, so has the information that this player is over here. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Intel taken out by Akon, by AOC, and Stunny just still trying to stall for time. Sitting on about 60 health total. Is going to get off another cell here. Maybe goes for the push. This is so tight. Drop-in Gaming and Tyson here on a knife's edge in this fight. Is going to force the cancel on that res. Backs away once more, and just a cat and mouse game here from Stunny.
This is the world's longest 1v1 that's taking place right now. I mean, I don't think there's ever been a 1v1 longer in history over here. It's going to be epic for whoever wins this one. Thought multiple reses were going to end up going off. It's a great job of blocking the wall right there, too. Multiple reses have been faked, but it's going to be the car again. It started the fight, and it finishes it. Stunny with 3 kills, all 3 of them. 760 damage in that fight. JQ could only sit there and watch, but hey, it was kind of entertaining the entire time as we see where the zone is going to be pulling over towards that northern side. So right where that train tracks area is going to be a pretty popular spot to go and holding above the train tracks, beneath that big respawn building on over towards your left, the blue trailer building on over towards the right-hand side. Nobody rotating from that northeast side. A couple of teams going to be coming over from Overlook. You could see Tripods. Looks like they're getting in a fight.
Yeah, Tripods. Of course, one of those Pro League teams that you all should know very, very well. Nick Merckx, captain of the squad, and they have found somebody. Scan's going to come through. The Catalyst wall is down, and Deeds here with a little bit of a flank is going to get the knock there, courtesy of that R99, and they're going to finish him off. No Name wiped out in a pretty clean fight there from Tripods to get their first blood going here in this first game of the day. We're down to 15 squads here at this point.
Yeah, you just have a feeling that this is what you're going to see from a majority of our teams here. It's going to be a lot of Seer, a lot of Catalyst. Interesting to see Deeds going on the Bangalore too, especially considering the amount of controller players that we have on this team, because you do not get that auto aim through the smoke. This is the team that I wanted to see. MJ and Team Mike and Ike on the hunt on the opposite side of Lava Siphon in this no-name area. So 2 fights on opposite sides of the map is Wizard Coin. He's going to be rocking the Mad Maggie. Maggie extremely strong in certain situations, especially infiltrating buildings, and that's what this composition really specializes in, especially when you add the black hole. Good PK shot, but they're there to answer. Let me cook, man, taking the off angle over towards the side, but MJ is going to have to go huge here.
Yeah, Wizard Coin going down initially is certainly going to hurt, but Let Me Cook, man, with a good angle with this Prowler, just trying to lay the damage down. And, you know, the thing about that Maggie, we already talked about how the Horizon enables that aggressive playstyle from MJ. You add a Maggie on top of that, and you just double down on that let's fight, let's go aggressive play style here. But they're not going to have it for the time being, and looks like they want to back away. Let Me Cook, man, dropping down into that Gulch, and we'll have to see if MJ is maybe able to pick up this banner, because VKS has pretty thoroughly pushed them off of this position. They're going to take this building, hit some Phoenix kits and some other heals. They'll be able to loot up fairly quickly, and we'll see if Mike and I can recover here if they just elect to play the 2-man here.
Yeah, I think that's smart, because you could see potential third parties coming in over towards the backhand side. Remember, said this is opposite sides of the map. Well, there was more than enough time to make their way from Overlook all the way over here. It wasn't the complete opposite side of the map, but it was at least 2 POIs away, 2 no-name areas that you have to go through in order to find your way towards where Tripods did. They're gonna lay down a couple of shots with the Rampage and say, "Hey guys, we're here to party," but now it's time to rotate. 2 minutes left, zone 2 closing. Pretty action-packed start to this game, but you can expect things to kind of slow down a little bit. I mean, there may be some campers over towards the fragment side that could potentially grief the Tripods as they make the rotation. This is always a scary spot to make your way through right now. You have to get into the buildings almost immediately, and fortunately for them, it doesn't seem like anybody was interested. They're going to just make their way on over towards the circle for free.
Yeah, they were pinging the player scan there for Nick if they want to go for it, get some information on where teams are holding up at this point. But if they don't go for it, they can certainly just elect to rotate into a comfortable position, get into this circle. They are going to get the scan, so that'll be good information there, so they can understand maybe some safer routes into this next circle, so Tripods can take their time. Still quite a few teams spread out on the outside of this second circle with a bit of a ways to go for this next rotation, but you see 3, 4, 5 teams starting to get clumped up on that eastern edge of Skyhook. Razor in the mix, as well as a few other squads. You can also see Team Aegon by AOC holding up in the center of Skyhook, trying to hold off some of those teams rotating from Countdown and Lava Fissure, but continuing to pull further north up towards those train tracks for right now.
Yeah, that part of Skyhook is going to get absolutely lit, and look at the team that's there. Aegon by AOC potentially picking up a lot of kill points as long as they're able to stay alive up on over towards the high ground. They're going to have to make their way over towards the zone eventually, but what great information Tripods were able to gain there. They can make their way over towards that blue train cart that we were talking about a little bit earlier and get that for free, because everybody else is heavily focused on over towards the north side, but whoever rotates from that side of the map is going to pick up a decent amount of kills, and they're going to be in a really, really great spot. Nick Merckx with the triple take. I mean, that thing doesn't hit as hard as some other weapons, maybe like the charge rifle in that type of instance. This one takes a lot more skill to go and hit, a little bit more unforgiving for how long range that is, but you can see they picked up a decent amount of kills, picked up 4 points overall as they made their way inside of the top 15, and they are on the hunt with this revved up Rampage that Deeds refuses to put down.
Yeah, couple of tags, as you mentioned, from that triple take, and it seems like Tripods are ready to hit the go button and chase this down. I also do want to mention, we got to look at where Razor was holed up on the northern end of that zone. They're in a rough spot because round 2 is closing, and they were sitting on double white Evos. That is not where you want to be this far into the game. You're going to be very squishy when these fights start to happen, and especially when teams start to close in. And, you know, those third-party rotations are very quick and very decisive. Razor could be in a very tough spot. So we'll have to keep an eye on if they can survive here and maybe get a little bit better loot. One big fight win for them could change their fortunes here in this mid and late game. But Tripods, they went on the hunt for that player they tagged, weren't quite able to find them, so they're just going to go for the rotation here up into the northern side here of Fragment. They'll get into safety from this circle and just bide their time as we check in with Ware. And looks like they're holding out a team here on the western side, or on the eastern side, I should say, of Countdown.
I like that play from Tripods, though. I think that playing aggressive in these situations and always trying to, you know, work on your team fighting skills is a great sign of confidence. But we'll see what happens with them as they rotate with their armor situation too. That's another reason why playing the edge is a little bit stronger if you don't have good armors like Team Razor is in a situation where they have absolutely nothing. Like you said double grays. That is not the vibe that you want right now. So double purples and a blue, and you know that they're going to be able to get that up to a triple purple eventually on over towards reds. When you're rotating into the zone, all you need is that little advantage for teams like Tripods to be able to make some things work, as we see what Aegon by AOC is up to now. And they've been, you know, fairly quiet this game. There's been a lot of action to begin with, but right when we get into these teams where they start setting up and getting in buildings, it always slows down. Zone number 4 is where we're going to see a lot more action.
Yep, and at this point, I think Aegon is just focused on picking that, you know, specific building that they want to hold up in, that they're going to choose as their spot to defend as teams continue to rotate in, because they know, you know, through that tunnel on the southern side of Skyhook, as well as the teams rotating outside the circle and into the western edge, there's going to be a lot more people coming into the area. There's still 13 squads remaining, and the space is starting to get even more snug as this game goes on, so they know they're going to have to deal with some squads coming into their territory. Meanwhile, we check in with Tripods, and Nick Merckx in trouble taking the fight outside the zone, and VKS is actually going to take them out. It came down to the 1v2 there for Nick, and not able to finish it off, and VKS will survive.
And this is the point of the open night. I mean, we're looking at Mike and Ike getting taken down by them, then Tripods as well. This team is serious. I mean, these are two teams that are phenomenal that we had almost as favorites, and VKS comes through and proves us wrong in terms of teams to watch. But look at the shots from Turns. Already gets one knock, make that two as he looks for the third, just needs to land the shot, and he does. Smooth moves coming in, 3 kills, 1 assist. Time to rotate on over towards the zone. Unfortunately, not enough time to loot these boxes. Maybe you can get in, grab a couple of resources, but he's the one that did a lot of that damage, which means that he was taking a decent amount as well. Has his artillery strike if he wants to go and toss that one out, and now it's loot in time. And Turns doesn't play controller. It looks like he was just kind of taking his time as he's going for the loot.
Yeah, Turns putting on a clinic there. Great beams there with the car, dodging back and forth between those 2 different doorways to get the angles he was looking for, and then just great finishes with the wingman in the last little 2-tap to finish off that 3rd player to eliminate Ascendant. So you talked about it at the top of the day. You were very complimentary of the versatility that Turns brings to the table. It's a big reason why he is a defending champion here in Series E and why he's been around for so long. He is so consistent and continues to be able to put together really strong teams here in Series E, and Aegon by AOC is emblematic of that once again here in Season 6.
Dude, split off. Why didn't you guys split? Like, that's definitely what Lemmy Cookman is talking about right now. Nothing's worse than when you're taking a ton of damage and your teammates don't split. I'm pretty sure that they did. The charge rifle shots just absolutely griefing Team Mike and Ike from across the map. But what a great spot to go and hold. Having this high ground on top of the hill is going to dominate this entire southern side of the zone. If they could find the res onto Lemmy Cook, they just kind of left him for dead. I mean, no one was interested in going for the res until the very last second. He's like, guys, I'm safe. Let me get back into this one. As you see, NCT, the team that did grief with the charge rifle, find some up close fighting as well on top of that blue trailer, and they were able to finish off RID. So really nice plays coming in from Team NorCal.
Yeah, NorCal getting a nice finish there. They've got their own good chunk of KP, and we check back in with Aegon here in Skyhook, and it's Turns, wingman in hand, once again going to hit the reload, and looks like maybe electing to back away. Orioles hitting a battery, and Force trying to find a little bit of safety, and Aegon has elected to back off for the time being. They are going to get fleshed though onto that Seer, not quite able to get the knock, however, and here comes the push onto Force. Now looks like he may be in the 1v2 here, stepping around that knock shield, is able to get the knock. Huge finish there. They're going to be able to pick up some armor swaps, and Aegon by AOC buys just a little bit of time.
Such a fun team to watch. You could just see how mechanically gifted Force is. You saw turns from his point of view. The shots were on point. Team Razor going out in 10th place. But that was a fun fight to watch. You could see player after player. Everyone was kind of yeeting themselves over towards the building. Speaking of yeet, they are yeeting themselves out of Skyhook. We'll figure out if they can find a safe place to land. 8 squads remaining. A decent amount of them are going to be full. Pings going on top of the bridge. They may just go for this. They see a solo, maybe. This is extremely ballsy. And it thought for a second that they weren't going to be able to get it, but look at this. Fuse nades on top of fuse nades. Seer ultimate going down for Aurealis. What an aggressive play from Aegon by AOC.
And that's just Aegon playing with the information that they had, right? You see the scans of the multiple teams, and as soon as you see a solo scan, that's where you've got to go, because there's so few spots that you could play in this circle. This is not a finishing zone that we see very often, honestly. Skyhook is so rare in itself, and pulling out to this eastern edge is really interesting, and Aegon just had to find whatever they could, but all of those, the grenades that got laid down, pushed them off of that high ground, and they dropped right into the hands here of the MPA. They absolutely wipe out Aegon by AOC, and just like that, we're down to 4 squads remaining, and we'll have to see how things shake out.
And out of all of the places to land when you have the smoke, you land in top of the RE45 with the Digi threat. The best weapon in that scenario, and Matt just laying fire onto everybody from Aegon by AOC. It doesn't get much better than that for MPA for picking up free kills. I liked that play. The safe play was 1000% land underneath them and just play it a little bit slower, because if they do have that fight straight up, look how far they were away from that area there, So they weren't directly underneath where the train tracks were. There was an opportunity to kind of slow play that and make their way forward, maybe use their resources. They went for the all or nothing play right there. And unfortunately, they run into 2 things that could really bite them in the behind. And that's going to be Fuse throwing his ultimate, holding on to 20 grenades. Yeah. And then they run into an RE45 that sees through the smoke. So even their backup plan went to waste. So that's just really unlucky by Aegon and by OC, but a great play by the other 2 teams that pushed them off that spot.
Yeah, and I think it seems pretty clear at this point that they were hoping that was just a solo rat, but it turned out it was just one player stepping out to get some sight lines, some intel for the team, backing away, and then all of that utility that you mentioned getting laid down right on Aegon's head forces them off of the only tenable position that they had in that circle, and they get wiped out as a result. We have 2 R1C, NorCal, MPA, and Free Warriors are our team still alive, and 2 R1C has been holed up in the northern end of these train tracks for a very long time. Only now, with the circle closing, have they abandoned that position, and they've just been playing the long con. They found where the circle was pulling early on, and they've just let the lobby come to them, and it has them in a great position. Meanwhile, you've got NorCal in the sniper tower, and a Nemesis with a 3x in hand here for NorCal T. And that's going to be a problem for these squads. If any sort of sightline opens up, your health bar is going to melt very, very quickly.
What a wild zone, So I can't remember the last time I saw this zone, if ever. I mean, it's been years since I've seen this particular one, and NorCal has maneuvered perfectly getting into these situations. Watson's value skyrockets on top of these towers. Problem is, now with the zone moving, what's going to be the play? Who do you think right now, Yeso, has the best advantage? Right now, it kind of looks like the team inside of the trailer is looking good.
I think they're in a good spot. The one good thing for NorCal is that dropping down from this sniper tower, there actually are a couple of containers and large rocks that they can play for cover when they drop. So they don't just drop into a free sightline for these teams. So NorCal has a chance here, but it's still tough. Dropping from the high ground in this position with all 3 other squads set up on the low to buy time puts you in a tough spot. But yeah, they're going to do it early. They're not going to wait for the circle to force them off and they may just go left here and double team the squad. You see 2R1C playing a bit of the high ground and threatening this squad, and it looks like NorCal may just want to come in for the assist, but they're getting fired on from MPA, and NCT has to be careful, looking to hit the bat and buy some time, but Frogs is going to get taken down, and this could spell doom for NorCal. We'll have to keep an eye on the kill feed, see what happens with these other squads, because NorCal knows there's somebody else behind them.
You know, I think this is a really good idea, even though it's not working out. They're in such a tough spot. Why play predictable and drop down right when the zone's going to close? Drop down, try to create something, get a little bit of chaos, and survive as long as possible. Obviously, they lose out on Frogs, which is not ideal, but they bought time for 2 other players. 1 player knocked from Free Warriors. Matt going absolutely nutty with the RE45 song. With how many Bangalores and Visual Flutter we have right now on the map, that is going to be a big problem. But Uhaku, he's going nutty right now with the flatline Prowler. And it was Hyarka who was on the fuse. So it was 2R1C originally that put them on their backs for Aegon by AOC. A lot of range on this portal here. Surprisingly that he sets it up on top of this high ground. But both the teams are fighting that were over towards the left and right hand side. 2